Hey, Shalom. Let's open up this lesson by giving all the praise, the glory, and honor to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. That is all blessings, honors, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father, whose true name is Yahweh, true His only begotten Son, our Lord and our Savior. His name's YAHAWASH. Double honors to my teachers, the elders, the bishops, and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the Lord's elect, and much respect to the brothers that teach, preach, and prophesy in the true doctrine of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH. There's only one truth. And just want to get into a very brief epistle to the spirit and power of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH. We're supposed to be occupying prophecy, giving the people the warning, let them know what is coming, feeding the sheep. You know, YAHAWASH said to Simon, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said, yes, Lord, thou knowest all things. He said, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. You know, this is a quick article here. And I picked this up from the Hal Turner radio show. And the article, I'm going to play this video in a second, but just going to show you the article where I got this from, that what inspired me to do this lesson. So it says, it's a Hal Turner radio show. It says, heavy U.S. naval deployments heading towards Venezuela. Of course, Trump is at, he's at odds with the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. So he's raging his wrath. Essentially, these are all a lot of these Venezuelans are Israelites. So this is all part of what is known in the Bible as Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30 and verse 7, because this is all biblical prophecy. So let's get into it. And it's another reason why he's targeting the Central American people, because it is all part of Jacob's trouble. That is the Northern Kingdom, essentially. So let's get into this article here. It says a major buildup of United States naval forces is underway outside Venezuela waters, raising questions whether the Trump administration is preparing for a military confrontation with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, his government. So we know it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, a time of war and a time of peace. And this is definitely a time of war, because all this is leading to escalation. Venezuela is a great ally to the Russians. Earlier last week, news broke that up to 3 guided missile destroyers would soon arrive in the region. The naval warships will target boats operated by drug cartels transporting fentanyl to the United States, officials said, but have not said how they will do so. Sunday afternoon, we will find out that also headed to the region is the I guess that's YAHWAH ready group, including the United States SS San Antonio, the United States SS YAHWAH, and the United States SS Fort Lauderdale, carrying 4,500 soldiers, and the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Unit with 2,200 Marines. Those ships and the Marines departed Norfolk, Virginia. I believe that's Virginia. This is earlier this week, but had to turn around to avoid Hurricane Erin. They are expected to head back out soon and are likely to arrive in the next several days. Several P-8 surveillance planes and a submarine also deploying to the region. The United States is saying that fentanyl ships from Venezuela to the United States. The U.S. also says that Venezuela has close relations with both Russia and Iran. See, that's what it's about, because ultimately they don't want Russia to be right in their backyard, because Venezuela, look at the map here. You got America and you got Venezuela right in their backyard. So they don't want Russia to be setting up shop near Venezuela, kind of like how Russia doesn't want the NATO and U.S. NATO in the West to set up shop inside of Ukraine, because it's very close proximity to to their sovereignty. See, so it says the United States says the fentanyl ships from Venezuela to the United States. The U.S. also says Venezuela has close relationships with both Russia and Iran, and it's constructed Iranian drone. There we go, Iranian drone factories inside Venezuela. Finally, the U.S. says that Venezuela issues legitimate but bogus passports to members of Hezbollah. See, so it's always a deeper understanding. So it is easy for them to say that they're tackling the war on drugs because people can relate to that. A lot of people have lost loved ones, or being victim of people of drugs, or have members of the family that has been lost for whatever reason on either side, being in part of the whole drug war. So people can relate to that and empathize. It says several months ago, Intel circuits claimed that the Russians are setting up facilities for long-range missiles. This is what it's all about, to be in Venezuela, but under Russian control. I did not see any corroborating proof of those claims. If those claims were correct, the United States would be struck by Russian missiles fired from Venezuela. You know what? Let me grab a precept for that, because that's prophecy right there. This is he couldn't have said that any better, because let's go. The whole purpose of this is what? America is a superpower, the greatest kingdom ever existed on the earth to date. I mean, ever, really. At the end of the day, they're the revival of the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire was an ironclad army, but no kingdom is set to rule forever. So America is that juggernaut of a country, but the Lord is raising up the Medes, which is the modern day Russians today, to take down America. So what he basically said prompted me to go to this precept here. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13 and verse 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes, the Russians, against them." Against who? Against Babylon, which shall not regard silver. As for their gold, they shall not delight in it. Once the Lord has put the spirit on the Russians, they can't be bribed. They can't be paid off. Since this whole Ukrainian-Russia conflict, the Americans and NATO and the European nations have seized billions and billions of dollars from the Russian oligarchs, from Russian countries, to start taking away their wealth, essentially. It's always about what's in it for me, for the Western countries. They always want to balkanize and colonize nations. See, it says, Lord says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver. As for their gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows," talk about the missiles now, "their bows shall also dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb." Not even pregnant women. Once those missiles are guided by GPS systems, which is ultimately part of the weapons of the Lord's indignation, because he gave them the technology to make these missiles, as it says in the book of Isaiah 54 and verse 16. He created the waster to destroy. See, so it says, "Their bow shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children." And Babylon, America, the glory of the kingdoms, greatest kingdom ever existed on this planet, in terms of power, in terms of how all the nations are flocking to it, having all the nations from all people all over the world is in America, from all these different nations. And Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahawah overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, destroyed as a monument. And it goes into this in Isaiah the 34th chapter too. In Isaiah 13, Isaiah 14, Revelation 17, Revelation 18, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51. All these things talk about the destruction of America. You see, "It shall never be inhabited." This is talking about America now, the destruction. "Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian, the Arabs, pitch tent there. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there." See, because there will be none of that. As it tells you perfectly in Revelation 18th chapter, around Revelation 18 verse 23. "The voice of the bridegroom shall be heard at no more in thee." And roughly paraphrasing, but all these things, will be desolate. It says, "But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. Talking about your White Houses, your Super Bowl arenas, those big palaces, these domes, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, White House, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Talking about America, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. So that's why that is very prophetic what he said there. He said if those claims are correct, the United States could be struck by Russian missiles fired from Venezuela a lot fast. It's supposed to be a lot faster than those fired from Russia. These are the kinds of claims that tell the average American military action is coming fast. Yes, 100%. He said that in the spirit, 100%. Because this is all part of the strategy. The Russia in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Russia will be a guard unto these nations. It says, yes. I asked a question. It says, is Venezuela an ally of Russia? Yes. Venezuela and Russia are strategic allies, particularly since 2019 political and economic crisis in Venezuela. And Venezuela is rich with oil, but because of all the sanctions of America, the country is in shambles. Lots of crime, inflation is destroyed because, the sanctions that are put on them, which led Russia to become one of the Maduro's most important supporters. And that's, once again, it's like a woman. A woman is going to go with a man who's considered high value. So they go on to the Russians. Russia provides economic, military, and political support to Venezuela and sees the relationship as part of its strategy to counter Western influence and build a network of like-minded allies globally. Doesn't that sound good to the people of the world? Of course it does, because America is putting a lot of sanctions and a lot of oppressions on them, because this is so now they've gone to the Russians. See, it says Russia supported Maduro's claim of victory in the contested 2024 Venezuelan presidential election. According to CBNC, Russia's most prominent Latin American relation is with Venezuela. See, conversely, Venezuela's primary geopolitical ally is Russia. There you go. So now you have it. So now I'm going to play a little bit of this video here, but once again, got to bring on the copyright disclaimer. It says copyright under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Disclaimer, this Copyright Act is allowance made for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Fair use. Now listen to this.
U.S. is deploying missile destroyers to the waters off Venezuela as part of President Trump's efforts to combat threats from Latin American drug cartels. The USS Gravely, the USS Jason Dunham, and the USS Samson are being sent out there right now. A Defense Department official confirming that the military assets have been assigned to the region in support of counter-narcotics efforts. The official told the Associated Press that the vessels would be deployed, quote, over the course of the next several months. The deployment of U.S. destroyers and personnel comes as Trump has pushed for using the U.S. military to fight those cartels that he blames for the flow of fentanyl and other drugs into American communities and for perpetuating violence in some U.S. cities. We're also seeing reaction from several lawmakers to all of this, including Florida Senator Ashley Moody, who says, "Thank you, POTUS, for making America safe again. The cartel in Venezuela is flooding our region with illicit narcotics that are making their way into our communities, but now we say no more. I was proud to stand with the sheriff and others to recognize National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day to fight this lethal fentanyl crisis."
So who wouldn't want that in the city near them? Anybody would want that, even people in the truth, in terms of nobody wants to be around people who are drug addicts, fiends, because they can't be trusted. You turn your back, you put your wallet down, you turn your back, your wallet is gone because they have such a high addiction for these illicit drugs. And these are the drugs that Esau created. So the same things that he creates is now becoming a problem to his people. And that's why it says in the book of Deuteronomy because all these things, that these traps and everything that they have set, originally these were what? These drugs were created and put into the Israelite communities to destroy them. But now the same problem is coming back to their cities. So now it is a problem. See, they don't care when it's nobody, other people, but when it's them, it becomes a problem. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." And who hates us the most? Psalms 83 tells us all the enemies of the Israelites, but Edom is at the forefront. And who persecuted us the most? Esau, Edom, so-called white man. It says, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." So this is what is coming to a city near them, and this is another reason why he is using all these draconian measures to bring in the army, the National Guards, doing all these things, giving them all these powers, telling the police that do your jobs and there will be no impunity, do your jobs, whatever it takes. I had brought out an article here. What happened? It went blank on me. Yeah, let me see if I can try it again. Okay. I brought an article just to bring out, this is an article. It says top 20 countries with highest drug consumption. But there was something I highlight. I'm not going to read the whole article here. I just want to highlight something here. The part where it says, the offenders. It says, the list of the worst offenders including Afghanistan, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Haiti, India, Jamaica, Laos, Mexico, Nicaragua, Pakistan, and Venezuela. You see? So once again, these are all the countries that they're calling the highest thing, because places like Afghanistan has the opium, those poppies. They have the opium, and Jamaica is known for its place like Jamaica is known for its rich quality of marijuana and whatnot. So a lot of these countries, they are the ones who are supplying the Americans, but now the problem is becoming so bad. So how many kinds of different drugs illicit are they? No, I'm not gonna get into that. Anyways, that was the point I wanted to make, because Venezuela is also on that list. So let's go here. Quick read. It says, the Los Angeles Times: Trump's war on Latinos reaches a new low. Abuse of Senator Alex. Trump's war on Latinos reaches a new low in abuse. Of Senator Alex Padilla. So this is a senator calling out Trump. It says the United States population includes an estimated 65.2 million Latinos, nearly a quarter of whom call California home. For over a century, Latinos were absent from the state's 2 United States seats. See, this is one thing. That's another thing. That's how you know they're Israelites. The Lord refers to us as worms. We don't have a seat at the table. We don't have no power. A worm has no power. It has no power against the talons of the eagle. And through the Spirit, America is what? Rome 2.0. And what is the symbol of the Romans? The bird, that eagle, and that's the symbol of the Edomites. That bird has it soars to great heights above all the other birds. And you see, a worm is no power for a mighty eagle. You see, so once again, it says winning 61.1% of the vote than any other statewide candidate. This is this guy Alex Singh, including Gavin Newsom. On Thursday, in the midst of Trump's administration largest immigration raids to date, Padilla was forcibly removed at a Department of Homeland Security press conference in his hometown. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Los Angeles manhandle for daring to exercise his congressional responsibilities, push out of a job-related meeting for asking a question for many Latinos. See, this is how Trump and his administration get down. Get on board or get down. This is what he's basically telling you. He's showing his horns. You see, the Trump administration immigration raids are squarely a Latino issue, not because of immigration. Is a Latino issue. All these Latino issues, but you see, that's another thing. a lot of the Latinos in America, even whether they have their legitimate papers or not, they are hard-working people. You see, a lot of people who's been rounded up in these alligator Alcatraz and all these detention centers are documented American citizens or in process of getting their citizenship. They're not going to tell you that part because this is all part of what he's rousing up the people. Because it says, it tells you in Second Ezra, they shall be sedition among men. Because eventually, these people are going to take matters in their own hand. That's what Trump wants. He's baiting them to do it. Because eventually, it will justify his means. So when they start to respond and raid and loot and whatever they're going to do, the people are going to rise up again. And that's going to be what? Martial law, civil war, race war, class wars. This is what he wants. This is why he's doing all these things. Because he has the power. You see, he making a Latino issue, but all these other people from all these other nations, whether it is the Arabs or whatever. At one point, I thought they were the boogie people. All these other nations, you come in these countries, you got all them organized criminals from other countries, but he's making a point because that's what he wants to do. You see, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, "Why standest thou afar off, O Yahawah? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble?" Because we are in Jacob's trouble. Contrary, well, a lot of people don't know that, but we are in the midst of Jacob's trouble. The wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Isn't that what he's doing? Some of these people, they sit outside all day waiting for some contractor to pull up so they can get a job to feed their family, get some work to feed their family just for the day. They do all these odd jobs, and cheap labor. A lot of these Edomite companies and businesses have folded or are struggling because they can't have the cheap labor workers come anymore because they're afraid of all the ICE raids. See, the wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices which they have imagined. And this is all part of their devices, Scripture says, "Lest we be ignorant of Satan's devices, for we are not ignorant of Satan's devices." Roughly and loosely paraphrasing, lest Satan shall get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And this is one of his devices right here. 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11 says, "For the wicked boasteth in his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not at all in his thoughts." Because why? He believes he's the Most High. It tells you in Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, and 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 4. He's sitting in the seat at the Most High, claiming to be the Most High, acting as he's the Most High. You see, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgment are far above out of his sight. As for his enemies, he puffeth at them. This is exactly what he's doing. He's puffing at all his enemies. He have said in his heart, "I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity." And that goes into Isaiah the 47th chapter. He said as a queen. He said as a lady. He never been touched. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Who's that sound like? Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. That's exactly what it is. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. This is what he does. But anyhow, I'm going to leave it there. I just want to bring out something really quick. Through the spirit and power of our King, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Because, thank the Most High, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH, for this truth, man. This is what we hold on to this truth dearly. This is all we got, We don't have a plan B. This is all we got, man. Going full tilt in, trusting in the Lord, believing every word, every word. And you know what? That brings me a precept right here, because this is a reminder, man. This is a constant reminder, a daily grind. We're preaching righteousness in a wicked society full of evil, including our own people, our own family members, our own, people in the world. They all hate us, but we have to keep these things dear to our heart, what is written in the scriptures. Because the famine of the word is coming, the famine of hearing the word is coming. The evil times are coming, even worse than what we see right now, because it tells you in the book of Daniel the evil that's coming right now has never been since the world existed, roughly and loosely paraphrased, but we got to keep this to heart. Romans 15 and verse 4, it says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning." Israelites, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. This is why, man. Take heed to this message. Take heed to this word. This is not a color thing. If this message resonates with you, more than likely you're an Israelite. Only the Israelites will reverence to this new song, because it was for them. You know, it says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. See, that we through patience means bad times, and comfort of the scriptures, YAHAWASH said, he will not leave us comfortless, and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. We are prisoners of hope. We are creatures of hope. Anyhow, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor due to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASH, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Shalom, shalom, shalom.